He's going to finish his NFL career. He's already has 6 years. He'll probably get to 10. Probably make $100 million. And I'm not sure if he was ever good.
I bet my life I'm a dice shaker. Electric lights on a skyscraper. It's up and down.
Welcome to the Diceshaker Podcast. My name is Jordan Brown. I am the host of the Diceshaker Podcast. With me as always, the man behind the scenes, Tyler Hartley. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Jordan.
We are through approximately 3 months of the season. 3 months of college football, 11 weeks of the NFL, so call it 3 months. Lot to get to today. A lot of games I want to talk about from last week. Some games from this week I want to talk about. First, we start with just a general overview of how the gambling records are. College went 4-6 again. Listen, we've been fighting like hell in the college football on the Saturdays this year. Started off terribly, put myself in a deep hole, was down at about 40% at one point in the year. We're up now to, we're hovering around that like 47%-ish mark, which, look, that's not where we want to be. That's not what I pride myself on here, is coming out and hanging a 40% number up there for a whole season. But the math is not looking good to get back to 52.5 now.
Honestly, just a moment of silence for our fallen soldier.
I have two options, basically. Well, really one option if I want to get back to 52.5 is I would basically have to absolutely, like, we have like 2.5 weeks left. We have 2 regular season weeks and then conference championship week, which obviously there's a lot of games, but there's not that many games. So I would have to like absolutely spray the board the next like 2 weeks and then hit those at like a crazy clip. And listen, I could do that and try to get to 52.5 and then also risk going way down to like below 40. I'm not going to do that. And it's not really what to do with the record. This really is about, like, we talk about Diceshaker being for the people, is like, I'm not going to give out a pick I don't believe in. I'm just not going to do it. And I might believe in it for a crazy reason, right? Like I might, right? Like, well, first of all, the over hit last week, but like the Bills Chiefs, just bet the over because you have to, kind of thing. Like, the reason I believe in the bet might not be based on like the film I've watched or like the numbers I've looked at. Sometimes it is. Yeah. But every pick I give, I fucking believe in. I fucking fight with my life for those picks.
You could preface this as this is a make or break. You know what I mean? Like we're like it's like if you're coming in on the 18th hole and you're tied 5th, but you got a shot at first, though. If you know what I mean, like it's a log jam.
Yeah, but that's right.
Like, you're gonna take a chance.
And so if I want to get to 52.5%, that's what I would have to do. I'd have to give out like 30 picks for the next 2 weeks and then hope they hit it a bunch of clips. What I'm saying is I can't look at the board and find 30 picks that I believe in, so I'm not going to fucking do it. I'll just come in under 52.5% like a man. And instead of giving out a pick I don't believe in. And that's what I'm saying is the reason I believe in my picks may not always be 100% logical all the time. I'm admitting that up front. What I am saying is if I give a pick out, it is something that I feel is correct. The reason I think it's correct might be crazy, but it's something I feel is correct. So I can't find enough plays on the board that I legitimately in my mind think are good bets. So I'm not going to give them out because I'm not going to give people bullshit. I would much rather lose honestly than back my way into 52.5% by hitting a bunch of shit I don't believe in. So that's where we're at. Listen, I'm still going to bet. I'm still every single Saturday. Well, there's only like 3 of them left, but I'm be in the trenches. I'm be fighting for every inch. But listen, 52.5% is just math numbers wise. It's probably happening this year in college football. And listen, there's lessons to be learned from that. We're gonna have meetings afterwards. We're gonna review the tape and we're gonna look at what went wrong early in the year. Like, that's really what happened. It was the first few weeks. I got so far down. There was some 2 and 8s out there. I think there might have been like a 1 and 9, maybe a 1 and 10. Like, there were some dark early weeks, and I think that probably is an indictment of like the prep I did before the season. Like, clearly I read a bunch of things wrong. Clearly I haven't adjusted to the new era of NIL and transfers as well as I need to. So listen, we're gonna get better. We're gonna get it fixed.
These things have been addressed all year too, right? Like, it's just we're adjusting. This is a different kind of season now too.
Listen, I was one time, so not to brag, not a big deal. We don't have to go into it, but at one point in time, I had an internship with the Hamilton Tire Cats. Got to do training camp with them.
Inside Diceshaker.
Right. And there was this coach at the time. He was the head coach of the Ticats afterwards, but at the time he was the defensive coordinator. His name Orlando Steinhauer. And he was the man. He was really smart. And he said one time, we're watching film of, I think, the first preseason game, and the defense had gotten cooked. They were just getting the ball shoved down their throat. And he paused it after a play and said, I don't like that on this play everybody's looking at me on the sidelines like I have the answers. It's like, if there was a play that was going to stop him, trust me, I would have called it before we got here. All right? Like, you guys are going to have to go make the play.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I feel about the college football thing. It's like, if I had an answer, I wouldn't wait till now. I wouldn't wait till we're 47 and a half and then be like, now I got, like, yeah, I've been looking for answers all year in college football. They haven't been that. Listen, to go from 40 to 47%, like, the last, like month, 5 weeks, I've been winning. I've been above 52.5%, no question about it. It's the first losing week I've had in a long time. But the hole was too big early on, and that's just, listen, that's how numbers work. That's how it goes. So we're not going to run from it. We'll admit, not going to hit 52.5% this year. Did not do my job in college football. Now, that being said,
I need a Zin for this one.
11 weeks of NFL action have gone by. I've placed bets every single week. The bet total, I'll tell you how many bets I placed in the NFL real quick math for you people. Close to it, yeah. So, you know what, guys? I overpromised on the math I was going to be able to do, but it is definitely over 100. I'm currently, you guys can do the math on this. I am currently 56, 41, and 1. In the NFL this year.
98 games.
That ranks, right, okay, so not quite 100 games. We're going to hit 100 games this week. So, say roughly 100 games, I'm hitting 58% of the bets. Really, 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 really hard to do. And again, I'm not here saying anything that isn't true. I just got through telling you guys how I've got my ass handed to me in college football all year long, and I didn't know as much as I thought I knew. I got to change how I think about a whole bunch of things. So when I say that I'm dominating the NFL like very few people are able to do, that is just the truth. That's just the facts, okay? It's just what the numbers say. And every bet has been recorded. I've posted every bet I've made all year long. Wasn't great at social media early on, so some of them didn't stick around.
Hand up again. Gotten better. Hand up again.
Gotten better at that. Gotten better at that. And listen, just have a really, really, really good handle on where the league is at right now. There was a couple, we survived the storm. There was a couple rocky weeks there, some 4 and 6s, some 500, below 500 weeks. That's fine. I mean, obviously at one point we were 67%. It was going to drop from there, but we've hovered in that 57 to 60% range all year long.
All year. Yep.
Making people money, giving out free money every single week on the Diceshaker podcast. And so just like I said, blame where blame is due for the college stuff. Hand up, that's on me. Credit where credit's due. I dominated the NFL this year. And now listen, the year's not over. We got a lot of games left, and no bet is guaranteed, and the numbers can change. But I feel great about the board again this week. I feel like every bet I make in the NFL so far, I think that we're like, realistically, there's probably 3 bets, maybe 4. I'd have to go back and look at them. The Giants Bengals game on Monday night from like a month ago sticks out to me as one. Where I was just like straight up on the wrong side.
I think you texted me that, Jordan. Now you're like, yeah, I'm wrong right away.
Like just straight up wrong. There's bets I've lost, obviously, because like the Packers this weekend were a great example. I had them 5.5 to beat the Bears. They win by 1 on a blocked field goal at the end, but they turned the ball over twice in the red zone in a game they dominated. So it's like I very clearly picked the better team to cover the number, and they should have covered the number. They just didn't play that well. And so that's football. That happens. But in terms of being on the wrong side of a bet, it's very, very, very rare that's happening this year. And so that means that, listen, again, I just reporting the facts. That means I'm seeing the board clearly. That means it's very good chance that I'm handing out winners. So like, follow, subscribe, do all that shit. There's still 6 weeks left in the season plus playoffs. There's a lot of money to be made. You can't afford not to do it.
Just do yourself a favor.
So do yourself a favor. Do yourself. Listen, help me help you.
We do this for nobody anyway.
For no money. Literally nothing. Literally nothing. I've been messaged one time by TikTok. They said you can make $6 if you post this song. I said we won't do it.
I texted him. I said, "What do you want to do?" He said, "Absolutely not."
It was something like that.
Insane to me.
Anyway. All right, so that's the gambling record stuff. News and notes, not a ton to talk about. We probably should stop recording these on Tuesdays because the college football playoff rankings get announced like an hour after we stop recording. Probably not a smart idea on our part, but that's fine. It doesn't matter. What did happen today is the Jets fired their GM. Joe Douglas is fired. So that's a season where the Jets fired the head coach, took play calling away from the offensive coordinator, and then fired the GM. The GM firing midseason is not a super common thing, and it really isn't surprising when you look at obviously how the Jets season has gone, but also like just in a vacuum. If I took all the Jets stuff away and I took the names out of it all, and I took Aaron, you know what I'm saying? Like it wasn't Aaron Rodgers. Just here's a general manager, and he made these draft picks, and he drafted Quinnen Williams, and he drafted somebody that was very funny said that he can't be called. Sauce Gardner should not be able to be called Sauce right now because he's not playing well enough. Mm-hmm. We have to call him Ahmad Gardner. It's his real name. It's his real name, which is very funny. But obviously a good player, not having a great year. And they drafted a bunch of good players. The Jamal Adams trade. They got like 3 first-round picks for Jamal Adams. So if I gave you all that and then told you that in 2020 he drafted a quarterback in the top 5 that not only didn't get a second contract from that team, also is not even a starter in the NFL anymore. And then they signed a 39-year-old high-priced free agent quarterback who tore his Achilles in the very first game, and then went on to win whatever. They've got 3 wins or whatever in the next season. You go, oh yeah, that GM got fired.
Yeah.
You just can't miss on 2 quarterbacks like that.
Absolutely.
You just can't do it. And like right or wrong, wasn't his fault, it doesn't matter. It's like you just can't that gets you fired as a GM in the NFL. Like we're not gonna let you pick a 3rd quarterback.
Yeah.
You just fucked up the first 2. Mm-hmm. Right? And that's just how it goes. So ultimately that's what did him in was the Zach Wilson pick. And listen, you can go back and look at that 2020 class. Like what's Trey Lance up to these days?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like out of that, right? So it's Trevor Lawrence, which has worked, but not to the level that people thought it was going to work when it came right. He was supposed to be like an Andrew Luck level prospect. It has not been that. Fields gone. Kenny Pickett gone. Zach Wilson gone. Who else was in that 2020 class? Who else was in that draft class? The 2020. Just look up 2020 quarterbacks. There's one more I'm missing.
Yeah.
Mac Jones. Mac fucking Jones.
Mac Jones.
Mac Jones is who I was missing. Also, he's Trevor Lawrence's backup now. So, he's not. Joe Douglas is not the only one who fucked that draft up. Clearly, that was the COVID draft.
Yeah.
So that's what I thought was 2020. It's 2021. That's the COVID draft. So that was probably the weirdest, hardest draft for GMs because you couldn't interview guys, couldn't work about all that stuff. But yeah, listen, he gets fired. There's reports now that the Jets have started leaking that they want to move on from Rodgers after this year. He is still under contract for the next season, so they could. I looked it up today. They can, if they cut him after June 1st, then they basically end up saving about $9.5 million on the cap.
I was really going to say it's just not really worth keeping him at this point.
It's not worth keeping him. Like it's likely he doesn't want to be there anymore. Like obviously, like he would like to win if he still can. And this is what happens where they turned the organization over to him and it didn't work, and now they're left picking up the pieces. So you would imagine that, especially now that they've leaked it, they want to move on from him, fresh start, get a new head coach in, get a new GM in, pick the rookie, be bad, go from there, right? You still have Quinnen Williams and Ahmad are still good young players. You need to rebuild the offensive line. Garrett Wilson, obviously a good young player. So it's like you could turn this around quickly if you get the right quarterback. They're the Jets; they won't get the right quarterback, but I understand why they'd want to do it that way. And then what Aaron Rodgers does next is quite interesting. I know what won't happen. It's like people are saying he's going to retire. I don't think he's going to retire at all. And it is very funny. People, I'm not the first one to point this out, but just the parallels between him and Favre.
About just like sticking around forever.
Well, just almost the exact same career, right? So except with the exception of when Rodgers gets drafted, he gets drafted in the first round, right? Like around like the 20th pick. Favre is still there. Favre is offended by it. Doesn't do anything to help Rodgers. Basically won't talk to him for 4 years. Continues to play really well for like 4 more years. Rodgers sits on the bench and watches the whole time. Finally, they make the decision of, okay, we're going to the young guy. Favre's out of there. He goes to the Jets. Mm-hmm. Rodgers comes in, takes off, right? Flip it. What happened 4 years?
Sorry, Vikings, right?
Well, he went Jets.
He went Jets. He went Jets.
Vikings.
Oh,
so that's
yes.
what I'm saying. So he
I
goes to
see.
Jets.
Sorry, yeah.
Favre went to the Jets. And
I forgot he was there.
It didn't
for
work.
a second.
It didn't work.
Yes.
Because it didn't work.
Yeah. Okay.
It didn't work. Because they're the Jets.
Yes.
And then so the same thing, right? Of Rodgers starting quarterback for the Packers. They draft Jordan Love. Rodgers like, what the fuck? Goes crazy, wins MVP. Love sits for 4 years. They decide to go to the young guy. Rodgers leaves, goes to the Jets, doesn't work.
Crazy.
You know who needs a quarterback next year?
Vikings need a quarterback. That is fun, dude.
It would, yeah.
Hey, that would be super fun with him there too.
And it's not a bad fit. It's not a bad fit. There's a few different. And listen, so what's not going to happen with Rodgers is he's not going to get the thing he got with the Jets, where they're like, "Hey, here's all the money and whatever decisions you want to make, we're going to make." And whether he's not going to say that that's what's happening, they're going to say what's happening. He very clearly had a high level of influence as to what was going on with that organization, as you should. If you're going to put all that money to a guy who's damn near 40, it's like, yeah, like you need to go right now. And you're the Jets. It's not like you had some great. It's not like, you didn't go to the Steelers, where it's like, right, like the Steelers taking Russell Wilson, and it's like, hey, Russ, I don't know how things worked at the old place, but that's not how things work here.
Yeah.
Because they have that culture, they have that established. They're like, yeah, we're going to be good, like pretty much every year. We're never going to be bad.
Yes.
The Steelers are never going to be bad.
Yeah.
And we have this like identity of, this is Pittsburgh. It's the black and blue. It's cold. Like we do things a certain way here. They just don't have any of that.
Yeah.
They're a laughing stock of the organization. They have been since Joe. The only time they were relevant was when Joe Namath was a literal cocaine alcoholic and played quarterback for them and managed to win a Super Bowl in the 70s when everybody was an alcoholic in the league.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, they had that guy. And they're like, oh, look, New York Jets, terrible since.
Yeah.
It was 1970. So, not a great organization, not a great history, not a lot of culture to like bring somebody in and be like, hey, this is how you're going to do it. So I understand why Aaron Rodgers came in and took your whole shit over. It didn't work. He's got to go now. And I don't see any team doing that again for Rodgers. I think there will be teams who want to sign him. I think it'll be teams like the Vikings who are like, hey, we're a quarterback away. I think the Titans are also probably going to be on that list of teams that would do it as well, which will be interesting for me personally. But yeah, you don't know who's going to do things after the season, but like, I'll try to run through it now. Who the quarterback, right? The Raiders are always there, although I don't think that would happen because like the Devonta thing and like him going back, like I don't think Brady would want Rodgers as his quarterback. I think the shitter Sanders to the Raiders thing is pretty much how that's going to work. Trying to think who else would need a quarterback.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. Well, I mean, I was going to say the Bears, not the Bears. They're not
Browns could use one, but they can't afford it.
The Browns are fucked. Yeah.
Well, the Browns are the most fucked. We've said this on this podcast.
The Giants are kind of in a similar spot, though, too?
The Giants going to need a quarterback, too. That would be interesting.
Very interesting. Absolutely,
That's if he just goes to the other New York team. I didn't think about that. That's somewhat interesting. I don't think the Giants would do that.
Are they not still fucked with Daniel Jones' contract?
Well, no,
too?
they benched him. So we're going to talk about that. But no, they benched him this year. It was the same thing as they did with David Carr last year. Last year's go, whatever the fuck he was on the Raiders. Because basically he has an injury guarantee. So if he gets hurt, his contract for next year becomes fully guaranteed. Whereas if he doesn't, they can cut him. So after heading into this week, they told him, they're like, you're done for the year. They basically told the team, right? And I'm telling the team, we're done. We're not trying to win anymore. Like, season's over. Everybody for himself. We're benching this guy so we don't have to pay him $30 million next year.
Yeah.
And then the starter has been announced, but I'll save that for later because he's a guy I want to talk about.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Okay. So that's it. That's the Jets thing. Spent too much time on that probably. Okay. Last week's game. So a bunch of good games last week with playoff implications that I want to touch on briefly. We'll do this kind of rapid fire because there's a lot to get to. Eagles Commanders from Thursday night. I think how I'm going to do. So I'm going to do this is we're going to talk about the game. Then I'm going to tell you who the game kind of tells us more about. This one I think is kind of even because it tells us that the Eagles are legitimate NFC contenders. And it tells us that the hype around Washington was too much, which happens. Listen, we knew it was. We knew that was true going into that game. Whatever the young, exciting team with a better record they're supposed to have is early in the season, they always get made into more than they are. That was clearly the case with the Commanders. I think the story of this game to take away is the Eagles' defensive line is growing up and is growing up quickly. So we've talked about this before early on the season and then a couple weeks ago as well about how like the Eagles have all these like really big name, high drafted players on the defensive line, Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Nolan Smith, they all went to Georgia. All like huge high school recruit type guys, freak athlete type guys. Mm-hmm. And they were underperforming up until this point. Early in the season, they're definitely underperforming and they've slowly gotten better, especially Jalen Carter. Jalen Carter is... And we knew this, like anybody's been paying attention to what he was at Georgia and what he was coming out of the draft is like the potential to be the best interior defensive lineman in football.
Beast, dude.
If he just has to do it every play now, but it's like that's always been there. And look, like and again, that's the thing with with Jalen Carter is it's always been there. It's just like he's just one of those guys where it was like football's been so easy for him, and he's so physically gifted at such a like he was the best defensive lineman at Georgia when he was 17 years old. Like, and so to ask a guy like that to be like, hey, and also be like the hardest worker in the room, it's like, yeah, okay, well that's Aaron Donald.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Tough, like to be somebody like Aaron Donald is what happens when like the most physically gifted guy is also the hardest working guy. And it's like, yeah, okay, well then you get like the best defensive player I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying Jalen Carter has the potential necessarily to be that, but he certainly has the potential to be an All-Pro. He has to do it, like I say, he has to do it every. He would have been a top 5 pick, and he wouldn't even be on the Eagles, except he got the drunk driving charge in the offseason where the guy died, and he was him and a guy on his team were racing, and there was like some trainer or somebody, some chick in the other dude's car, and they're all liquored up, and they crashed and died, and he just like took off from the scene or whatever. So he ended up getting in trouble for that. So instead of getting drafted in the top 5, he gets drafted in the 20s by Philly. So he's like a special player if he can put it all together. And then, like I said, they have a lot of depth on that line now as well with the other guys coming on. Good young rookies, Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean in the secondary, overperforming. They've gotten a lot better. So it's basically that defense has gotten a lot better. They're able to run the ball, obviously, with Saquon and Jalen Hurts. They can hit the big explosives to A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. So it's like there's a clear formula for how they win games now. They have a clear identity, which they've been lacking for the back half of last year and kind of the first half of this year. Their coach is still a dud, so that will probably bite them in the ass at some point. Like his game management decisions are truly horrific, and I don't think they like him generally. So like when they, when we're trying to figure out, if we get an NFC Championship game, them versus the Lions, we got, we're trying to figure out like those games are won in the margins, right? There's very little difference between these teams, so when we're trying to figure that out, it's like, okay, well, the fact that one team loves their coach to death and the other team probably doesn't is, that will matter a little bit. But they're legitimate contenders. They're legitimate contenders as far as I can tell. They're the second best team in the NFC, and like I said, I would have to see what that line came out at. It would be you guys from Detroit's getting the 1 seed, so that game be in Detroit. If I could get the Eagles plus 3 and a hook, I think I'd probably take that. So, yeah, so good for them. Always interesting to have Philly be competitive late in the year. It's a good playoff environment. And the Commanders, like I said, they're probably going to make the playoffs now just because of how many wins they already have, but that's not a serious team yet. The defense is not good enough. The offensive line is not good enough. Jaden Daniels is still a rookie. Yes, he's very talented. And then we're getting the Cliff Kingsbury. Oh, wait a minute. His team in the second half always stinks.
It also kind of just seemed like in that game, like they ran out of options almost offensively, right? Like things have been working and they played that great defense. Yeah. Also, too, but I mean,
they figure him out.
Do you think Jaden Daniels, like, it's a ribs injury they're kind of like talking about a lot too? Do you think that plays?
Yeah, sure. He's banged up. No question about it. That's what happens when the quarterback's got to run all the time.
That's true, yeah.
And so like.
He's not big like Allen in that either, right?
Right.
He's and
he's not, right, exactly. So it's like, and he's had injury concerns back. And it's a very funny talk about Jalen Carter. My favorite picture of all time is the SEC championship game from 2 years ago. Jalen Carter sacks Jaden Daniels, and instead of tackling him, he just picks him up off the ground with one arm and holds him there, and then just like starts celebrating with the other arm while he's holding on to Jaden Daniels. Like just lifted him off the ground. Like, well, you can't go anywhere now, so I'm just gonna start. Like, I'm gonna start celebrating. Yeah. Sick. So yeah, he's a smaller guy, and like I said, I think. Long term, obviously, if you're a Commanders fan, you have to be happy. Like this is you're ahead of schedule right now. You have to have a big offseason. You got all this cap money to spend. You have to do that right. You have to get the right pieces in. You have to protect Jaden Daniels. But I also think, listen, I think you got a dud calling the plays. All right, I think the book is out on Cliff. We know he will scheme it up and get guys open early in the season when nobody's really game planning too hard. Defense is still trying to figure it out. As the year gets on, defenses get better. More and more film gets out there. Every year, that guy's teams suck in the second half. And at this point, it's not a coincidence. So, that's kind of what we know from those games there. Next game, talk about Steelers-Ravens. Who does this tell us more about? I think it tells us more about the Ravens. Because I think the Steelers kind of are what they are. Like, it is going to be elite defense. It is going to be run game. And it is going to be a high propensity of deep balls. They have figured out that Russell Wilson can still throw a pretty accurate deep ball, and George Pickens is, for all his faults, is very good jump ball, deep ball type ball winner type situation, right? He's nowhere near, right? We talk about like the complete receivers of the game who can do everything. That is not what George Pickens is. He doesn't run the best routes. He's clearly not the smartest guy in the world. His hands are questionable, but he's big and he's fast.
Yeah.
And that helps. And so that's how they're living. And that's how they won this game. Obviously, they scored 18 points, didn't score a touchdown, kicked 6 field goals. And again, that comes down to as the field gets shorter and you can no longer hit those deep ball explosives, can you fit balls into tight windows? Can you get guys open when the spaces get smaller? Clearly not what they do. So that puts a ceiling on what they are, but that defense is elite. And going to Pittsburgh is going to be very, very hard to do in the playoffs. And they have the inside track to that division now. So it looks like you're going to have to do that at least in the first round.
Yeah.
For the Ravens, I think we learned that they're more flawed than we thought. And just so much of like, we knew that defense isn't good, right? And now they were able to live by playing basically like red zone. Some guys call it red zone roulette, where like they didn't give a shit about any yards that the Steelers got between the 20s. You could have every yard you want between the 20s. We're just going to keep backing it up and backing it up and backing it up and not let you hit anything over the top. And then we're going to assume that you can't kick. You can't score in the red zone. You can't be a good actual functioning offense and like scheme something up and score in the red zone. And you're going to kick field goals. And they're right. 6 times they kick field goals. The problem is the floor on that offense now. Like I didn't think an offensive performance like that from that team was possible because I thought the run game was just too automatic with Lamar and Derrick Henry. Clearly it's not. Now, not every defense is the Steelers, so they're going to be fine still against most teams. What I think we saw in that game was against an elite defense who is tuned into what you're doing, you need a special game out of Lamar. And if you don't get that, it's going to be hard for you to move the ball against a good team. So that to me just kind of when we're thinking about we're thinking about every AFC contender of how do they match up with the Chiefs. It's like, okay, like we just saw it and we'll get to that game in a minute, but like if you want to beat the Chiefs, you're not going to do it scoring 10 points. You're not going to do, you know what I'm saying? Like Mahomes will get more than that no matter how good your defense is. And the Ravens defense is not that good. So look, I liked the game plan from the Ravens. I think defensively, can't really be mad if you're on defense because it's like, hey, like you guys have won us every other game this year. It's like you kind of, we probably should have won this one, but I think some alarm bells there in terms of just what the floor on that offense is now lower, and that matters. So because their whole thing of like the Ravens could win was they have the highest floor of any offense.
Yep.
And now that floor is lower. So that matters. That matters a lot for them.
Sure.
So
it seems sustainable too for a while, right? With the run game too. So it's just alarming.
Yeah. No, listen. It's basically, and again, we're talking about margins here, right? So it's like what we learned is that against the best defenses, it is possible for that offense to be stopped.
Yes.
Doesn't mean it's going to be. And if you're not one of the best defenses, you're still in a lot of trouble. So, but that again, when we're talking about the best football teams in the world and trying to figure out what the differences between them are, little things like that are going to matter.
Yep.
So that's Steelers Ravens. The next one, the game probably that everybody was most focused on this week, in the moment I've been hearing most about from the haters, is Chiefs Bills. Bills 30, Chiefs 21. Who does this win say more about? I think this win says more about the Chiefs, and I'll explain why. Talk about it from the Bills' perspective first. The Bills played that game in the exact way they needed to play that game. In so much if they played that game like a playoff game. Evidenced by a couple of factors. Number one, the clearest proof to me that they were playing that game in a serious way of like a must-win situation, when they have the 4th and 2 late in the fourth quarter, could kick a field goal and go up 5, give the ball back to Mahomes, no timeouts, less than 2 minutes left. He needs a touchdown to go beat you. If you're playing, and you're at home, if you're playing a regular, and if you put that in a vacuum, that's probably the right decision to make. They don't do that. They go for it on 4th and 2. Obviously, Josh Allen, 26-yard run, touchdown, ices it, game over. That's a decision you make when you know you must win. That is a decision you make, and you go, no, we cannot risk giving him the last possession with a chance to win it. We have to live and die with it right here. We have to take on the risk of getting stopped on that 4th and 2, make it happen. Obviously, Allen makes the play. Another way that you can see that the Bills were playing this game in the way they needed to, look, and now people say Allen outplayed Mahomes. Sure, he did. Go look at the rushing attempts. Josh Allen had 12 rushing attempts in that game. Led both teams in rushing for either team. Mahomes did not run the ball one time. What does that tell you? That tells you that they told Josh, whatever it takes today, you got to go do it. We're going to run this whole thing through you, like we do every single time. There's no Kincaid, no Coleman. It's all got to go through you. If you don't have it, take off with it. Clearly, they have told Mahomes, or Mahomes has told them, whichever way it works over there, I'm not risking anything. This game does not matter. We still have the inside track to the 1 seed. Because that's the other thing. If the Bills lost that game, they can't get the 1 seed. Yeah. And they know they have to play that playoff game at home. Right? They can't beat Mahomes anywhere in the playoffs. You certainly can't do it in Arrowhead. So they needed that game to be in Buffalo. They didn't have a shot at that happening. Yep. If they lost that game, no shot. So, but the Chiefs proved last year they don't need the home field advantage. Go on the road, beat the Ravens. Go on the road, beat the Bills. Go to the Super Bowl, win that too. Mm-hmm. They need the home field. They're 9-0 or 9-1 now. Because they just happen to be 9-1. They didn't go with the mindset of every game matters and we have to do this. And so I think we saw that in the play calling decisions. I think we saw that in how Mahomes managed the game of, we're going to try to win. We're not going to risk anything. Yeah, we're not gonna put Mahomes in harm's way. We're not going to do anything out of the ordinary on offense. They were a little more explosive, which I liked seeing. I like the downfield stuff to Xavier Worthy, who is one of the that will get you out of favor and that Chiefs offense quickly is the not getting your foot down when you can get your foot down kind of situation. Yeah, that'll get you out. You can. There's a lot of guys who can run real fast. Xavier, we'll go find another guy who can. Sure. So but he is the explosion on that offense right now. So he is important. And then I think you saw it from the way that the Chiefs called it defensively. Very conservative game plan from them on defense, letting Allen pretty much stand back there, didn't pressure him a lot of zone. We're not going to let you get over the time. That's how he gets all those runs, right? Because they're kind of giving him that yardage there. And because I think they thought about it, it does not matter if we beat him right now. What we don't want to have happen is them have any sort of film to go study. Yeah. Because the next time we see him, I think, again, my biggest, strongest take this year has been that I believe in the Chiefs. I think they'll have stuff for Josh. And they'll let Mahomes go. They'll tell him, okay, now you go. Now the game matters. Now you have to do whatever you have to do to win. But Mahomes, he had the hip thing, remember a couple weeks ago? It's they clearly told him, hey, let him have this one if they have to have it, right? And even at the end, that last drive there, it's it didn't there's just no urgency to me from the Chiefs of oh, we must win this game. He throws the pick and there's oh, okay, well, hey, that happens.
Yeah, I mean, he ran the ball for the first down, and then it got called back on that penalty or whatever. But that was kind of, you're right, that was the only sort of risk that Mahomes took at all. And that wasn't even really much for risk. It was a holding because it was just such a massive hole from the run, too, right? There wasn't anything big.
I'm not saying they told him, hey, no running,
I know what you mean, though. Yeah. That was the only evidence of effort.
If there's a check down, if you could check it down for 4 or run for 7, check it down for 4. Yeah. So that it doesn't shake me at all in the Chiefs. I will say that I said it on the podcast last week. If the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl got to plus 500 or better, I would future of the year that. It did, and I have. I nuked the Chiefs at plus 500. You will not find a bigger Chiefs fan the rest of the way than me. And listen, and this what's sick about it too is now I get the experience of being a Chiefs fan the rest of the way. So it's I'm not worried about any game that happens until January. Literally what I care about from the Chiefs the rest of the way. In fact, they lose a couple more, I get an even better price. That'd be nice. Mahomes stays healthy, the offensive line stays healthy, the defense stays relatively healthy. I get those 3 things heading into January. Go ahead and start making Christmas plans. See if those don't get canceled.
Saying it all year.
Been saying it all year. Listen,
Christmas.
The compilation video we do at the end of this year, when I get to sit here with my future of the year cash ticket, and then we just get to run the thing of me all year long telling you, no, they're gonna win stupid. They're gonna win stupid. They're gonna win stupid, and then they do. That's gonna be sick for me. I can't wait for that day. I've been favored. A lot of people getting mean in the comments. It's one thing as we start to accumulate a little bit of a fan base here. Starting to know some characteristics about you people. A lot of you guys are mean, and that's okay because I'm mean. That's probably why you like me. And that's probably why you're here. And it probably says a lot about me as a person. But just understand that whatever happens between the white lines is what happens between the white lines. I've been doing this a long time. I've been through many, many wars against many people. My own father a lot of times. So, like, there's nothing you're gonna say between the white lines that's gonna. But understand, like, I see everything, and I'm taking note of everything.
Absolutely.
And like, it's a bad analogy right now because of what just happened on this past weekend. But there's an old thing that an old coach told me one time. I said, it's not a good idea to get in the ring with Ali because you think you can box. Or sorry, Tyson. I guess Tyson would be the one he used.
Yeah.
It's not a good idea again because you think you can box. Now, we're old Tyson. And I'm not saying I'm Tyson. But what I am saying is I am made for this. So if you're gonna come at me, guy on TikTok last week about how there's no sense in betting a Josh Allen at plus 250 to win the MVP 2 weeks ago because there's no matter what happened, Lamar was going to win it, and then I told you if Lamar loses to the Steelers and Allen beats the Chiefs, then the odds are going to flip, and then the odds flip. Expect me to show up on Monday within the DMs.
This is a live replay of what happened. This is
that's exactly what happened.
The exact level of pettiness that will come at you if you go after the king right now.
That's
man. Mr. 57% is what we'll call you. That's your new name.
Well, and it's like, and again, like you can get people don't roast me for the college stuff, which is crazy. Like they get on me. It's like a weird thing about humans where it's like, oh, here's like the successful person, so we have to like pick at him. When it's like you should be getting on me for the college stuff that I've been wrong. I've been wrong about it. I have Kyron Jones to win the Heisman.
You already feel down about yourself. It's no fun kicking a dead
people
man,
like coming out for the pro stuff. But it's the Stephon Diggs quote from earlier this year. It's like, I'll never be the bigger man. Ever. I'm never taking the high road. I will dance on every grave all the time. So let's just understand that. And again, we are a pro conflict podcast. We're a pro competition podcast. So if I like when people fade me. I like the back and forth. But just understand, if you're going to do it and then I win, it's going to suck for you.
Yeah. Absolutely. You show up to our doorstep, man. It's gonna really suck for you.
Well, listen, I'm the worst. I'm the worst person to be around who wins. You know, like people are like, oh, like
if you're against you, yeah, it would
people
suck.
Like don't be like a sore winner. It's like no, I won. I get to do whatever I want.
Exactly.
That's what winning is.
Very true. Very true.
All right. Last game to talk about here, then we'll bang out some picks quick. Bengals Chargers. Who does this tell us more about? It tells us more about the Bengals, unfortunately. And what it tells us about the Bengals is what we've been saying about the Bengals, is that they are who they were before they got here. And we need... What the Bengals have done is a crime. It's a true crime to have Joe Burrow and to have him have the season he is having. Like, it's hard for me to describe to you. Like, Joe Burrow is playing like MVP caliber football.
Unbelievable, dude.
Excellent football. Excellent football. And they are wasting it. And there are so many franchises out there. The Titans.
Yep.
The Raiders. The Panthers. The Jets. The Browns. Just all these teams who just... I've never seen anything close to what Joe Burrow is doing. You know what the high watermark for me as a Titans fan is for quarterback play? It's okay. So you say 2003 Steve McNair sick. I was 10. I didn't know what the fuck was happening back then.
Yeah.
It is 2019 Ryan Tannehill. That's the best it's ever gotten for me. And we did everything. The Titans did such a good job. They put everything behind that to get the most out of that season. Then work. So then to see a franchise have an MVP level quarterback playing at an MVP level, and they just don't show up in the first half of that game, it's just unbelievable. And again, and the roster construction is like, and look, it's hard, right? It's difficult to you hit on the franchise quarterback, and that's great. And then you got a bunch of years there where he's cheap, and you can just pay everybody else. Okay, great, you can do that. And then you got to pay him. And then that's when you got to start really building rosters, because that's when you have to have guys who can contribute, but you don't have to pay them that much. And that is something that the Chiefs have been able to do by hitting on their draft picks, the Trent McDuffies, the George Karlaftises of the world, who's the linebacker, Tranquil, offensive line stuff with Trey Smith and Creed Humphrey. The Bengals don't have anybody like that.
Nothing
like that. The defense has fallen apart from just a talent drain after talent. And Trey Hendrickson was always more of like a greater than the sum of his parts type of guy. Like, he was always kind of getting more out of his game than he should, but he's got nothing anymore. He's finished. Awuzie's gone. Who's the safety? Jet Bates. He's down in Atlanta now. And they just haven't replaced him with anybody good young. And then they've spent, they had to. Like, all right, well, we got to spend money on the offensive line. Orlando Brown's not even playing in the game last night. He's been hurt. Mm-hmm. That's the guy the Chiefs didn't want to pay. It's another good move by the Chiefs. They draft Wanya Morris instead, who's giving them at least the same level of play. Maybe not better, but like close for a lot less money.
Yeah.
And then to just be the Bengals about it too and go, all right, well, what do we have? It's go, okay, well, we got 2 elite skill guys. One of them has been with Joe Burrow for the last 6 years and was part of the greatest offense in the history of college football. So okay, how are we going to handle that? We're going to dick them around for as long as possible about the money. We're just going to, if we pay them, we're going to do it at the last possible second. We're going to make these guys sweat it out and really question if they want to be here every day for a year and a half. It's like, that's malpractice. And again, it goes back to ownership. The owner's cheap and he's an idiot and they don't know what they're doing. It's why the Bengals have always, this isn't the first time, they had Carson Palmer and didn't get shit out of his MVP caliber seasons. They had Andy Dalton through the prime of his career with AJ Green. They never got anything done. They could never beat the Steelers, could never beat the Ravens. It's just an awful, horrible, horrible franchise. And I hate what they're doing to Joe. Listen, Joe Burrow's under contract for a long time with a lot of money guaranteed. He has no leverage to be traded or cut or do anything like that. I'm predicting right now that this offseason, Joe's going to start making it uncomfortable in Cincinnati. Mm-hmm. And not so much in I want out of here. He doesn't seem like that kind of guy, especially now that he's from Ohio. He's always kind of been I'm this is my home, this is where I want to be kind of thing. But I think he public, he owns the media. If you think Joe Burrow's not I think you're going to part my tank and start talking shit, and that's gonna. If you think that's not gonna get the fan base in a revolt against you guys, I think he's gonna make shit real uncomfortable. They're gonna pay Chase. I don't know if they're gonna pay Higgins, but there's gonna be serious. I wouldn't be I think Zach Taylor's gonna get fired. I think, and I don't even know if Joe Burrow necessarily wants Zach Taylor to be fired. But somebody's got to pay for this. Yeah, somebody. We need blood somewhere. And then they've got real work to do on that roster to get it back to a place where it shouldn't be this hard, really, to be good with that level of quarterback play. It shouldn't be this hard. And look, they had a chance to win that game and couldn't get it done. And McPherson misses the kicks. Another, we talk about this. We got the Harbaugh Bowl this week that we're going to talk about, but the Harbaugh style of football of, hey, if nobody ever messes up, we can't lose. Yeah. They do enough to get it done. They took advantage of mistakes in the first half. A team, they're going to maybe be a playoff team at this point. I think they're kind of in that Commanders-ish place of obviously a more established team, a more established coach, but a year away kind of thing. What the Chargers could be next year, to me, would be very interesting. They need to hit on the draft picks again, but the quarterback's very good. The offensive line is very good. The defense is well coached. They could use some more talent, but I mean, not that, Joey Bosa, Derwin James, those aren't bad players. Yeah. But they could use a little more talent. They need a skill guy for sure. As much as I love Ladd McConkey, he can't be the guy. No. We're gonna need a little something better there. And they get that, and then I think they're cooking down there. So those battles, if I'm the Chiefs, that's for my, I'm thinking, Mahomes dynasty level of what the next phase of the Chiefs thing is going to be once, Reed and Kelsey and them are kind of out of there. And you need to be looking at the Chargers being we need to make sure we can beat them to win the division. So credit to them for that. Like I said, just really sad what the Bengals are doing. I hated seeing that game and what they're doing to Joe.
Also to see how good Burrow is, man, and how good that offense gets. Once that gets rolling, it's just one of the top offenses in the league. Now the
Bengals games just don't matter.
I know.
And now I got to watch Sam Darnold on the playoffs. Bullshit. Yeah. All right, we're gonna get to some picks for this week. So there's been Diceshakers for the people. So I appreciate the feedback that people who have messaged me. There's some complaints that I give the picks out too late in the week and that people aren't getting the good lines, that I take the good lines and then give it to them when the lines have moved kind of thing. So we're going to give out more picks during the week. We'll try to clip these out so that we can post them and you guys can get these picks in earlier than when I drop the card Sunday morning. So Thursday night needle thread. We got Browns Steelers. Divisional matchup. Steelers obviously coming off the big win. Short week for them. The Browns season is obviously over. They're just doing the Jameis thing, which I appreciate. Right now, it's Steelers by 4.5. Totals at 38.5. Not overthinking this one. Divisional matchup between two teams with good defenses and questionable offenses. Give me the under 38.5, and then give me the points. I'm taking the Browns plus 4.5. I'm taking Jameis. I think a bit of a letdown spot for the Steelers after the big win, overlooking the Browns. Don't necessarily need this win, really.
Yeah.
It doesn't really impact their divisional hopes too much now because they have the win over the Ravens. And I think the Browns are a team where it's like, whatever, like, you still have to show up every day, right? So it's like everybody wrote the Browns off early on in the year and then did the whole like, oh, this is like the most fucked for, and we did it right here on this podcast. They are the most fucked out of any NFL team. Like if you could, if you were drafting teams to take, you know what I'm saying? If I said, hey, you can own any NFL team you want right now, the last team you're taking right now is the Browns because of the situation with the cap and all that stuff. That, to be the guys who have to live that every day can actually like bring you together. Where it's like, hey man, like anybody outside this room like fucking hates us. Like, like we're all we got kind of situation here. And Jameis is obviously like, that's one thing, credit to Jameis about, he will play all of these meaningless games like they are the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So I think they're going to be live dogs in a few games coming down the stretch here.
Kind of like that too, playing spoiler. Like what else do the Browns really have to even, like live for?
They're
at
like,
this point,
hey, maybe we can just make somebody as miserable as we are.
Absolutely. Misery loves company.
Right,
That's been sports forever, dude.
Yeah.
Like
And
team
like-
play.
and
I
listen-
kind of miss that actually because it got so much about like contracts and shit, which is important. But like also, I kind of miss the spoiler. I feel like that used to be more prevalent in sports because I was just like, yeah, let's go.
There's
ruin
always
someone's lane.
one, right? Like I remember the Lions 2 years ago when they didn't make the playoffs, they were mathematically eliminated in week 18. The Packers needed the win to get in, and they just beat the Packers.
I think I've seen a clip of
they
that
just
actually.
beat the
They were talking
Packers.
about that recently,
Where it was like, that was like the first like, oh, these guys will play hard for Dan Campbell.
Yeah.
So that would like stuff like that is sick. So yeah, I like the Browns the under there. Like, you know, that game could easily be like 13-10. That game's gonna be gross. It's gonna be dark but when the game starts. Like it's just, you know, one of those sloppy November AFC North short week games.
Yeah.
Give me the under. Bucks Giants. Totals at 41.5. We are going, it's actually 42 now. But I'm taking it over 41.5. Why am I doing that? One, blindly just to Baker. Baker is playing excellent football this year. He's being held back by injuries on his offense, and his defense is bad. Excellent football this year. The Bucks are an over machine because they are good on offense and bad on defense. No, the Giants. So they bench Daniel Jones. We're done with the Daniel Jones thing. First of all, just this might be the last time anybody ever talks about Daniel Jones on a podcast, so I just want to make sure I get this off. Nobody has gotten further with less than that guy. Was a 0-star recruit coming out of high school, walks on at Duke, gets a starting job. Not that good at Duke. Not a high-level prospect coming into the NFL. Somehow convinces a team to take him in the first round. Goes in the first round. Not good as a rookie. Gets another shot. Not good into his second and third year. Flashes in like 3 games when that don't matter. Gets a second contract and gets the starting job back. Then continues to play. He's going to finish his NFL career. He already has 6 years. He'll probably get to 10. Probably make $100 million. And I'm not sure if he was ever good. Like, yeah. And when I mean ever, I mean like I don't know if he was good in high school.
I agree. Yeah,
it's crazy. It's crazy the leash that guy got. So just an all-time bag getter, an all-time guy who didn't deserve the money he got, which are the people we respect. So salute to you, Daniel Jones. Just used your leverage to get crazy paid. Now they've named the starter for the Giants this week. Do you know who the starter for the Giants is this week?
I do. Do you want to introduce him or you want me to? I feel like he has more ties with you.
Yeah, I just blanked out his name. That's crazy. Tommy DeVito.
Course,
yeah, I don't know.
How do you forget?
Listen, they've named Tommy DeVito as the starter. He's back. Now, the thing with Tommy DeVito, right? So people remember Tommy DeVito from last year, where he got named the starter of the Giants. They won a couple of games. He started playing okay, I guess. And then it was obviously like look how Italian he is. Look at his agent with the fedora. He lives at home with his mom. They're making soup, like all that stuff, right? Now, I've known Tommy DeVito. I don't know Tommy. I've known about Tommy DeVito for a long time. He was the quarterback at Syracuse. He was bad there. He got to the NFL. He was bad. People did the thing that they do where it's like, well, I don't know, maybe Tommy DeVito. No, he was bad in the NFL. But what I will say about Tommy DeVito, and it's similar to the Daniel Jones thing, is Tommy DeVito's gotten so far in this game by just being the best available option. And like even in like this situation, so like right, like last year, like the Giants go through the quarterback injuries and Tommy's there. It's like, all right, we're gonna start him, and he does fine. At Syracuse, it's like they didn't really want to start him. A bunch of guys got hurt. He got the job. Fine. Now it's like do you know Tom DeVito was not the backup quarterback for the Giants this year? Like all year long, he's not the backup quarterback.
Who was the
He's
backup?
the third string quarterback. The backup quarterback has been Drew Lock.
Yeah, I wouldn't know much Giants, to be honest.
Right,
There's no reason to watch. Okay, yeah.
So Drew Lock all year long has been the second string quarterback.
Yeah.
Tommy's been the third, not even dressing. But what the Giants just did was they looked around like, all right, the season's over. The fans hate us. We need to figure out a way to not get our asses booed for 3 hours every Sunday for the rest of the season. Well, Tommy's still here.
Yeah, Tommy's still here.
And then, because Tommy's always just still there.
Hey, dude, they credit Tommy, too. Like, he does, like, having that publicity with his weird fucking manager and shit. Like, dude, like, great job.
This is a serious take. I promise you, they're starting him or Drew because they're like, they won't boo him right away.
No.
They won't boo him right away.
He's got that Rudy.
Listen, that's
Rudy
Drew Lock erasure a little bit because Drew Lock is kind of sick. Like I don't know how much you know about Drew Lock, but he's just like he's not good either. But he's just like he's famous because on the sidelines he got caught rapping to a Young Jeezy song.
You say the N-word?
No, but just rapping really hard.
Oh.
And like he used to have he played at Missouri and he used to have this celebration. He'd throw a touchdown and he'd be it was supposed to be like he's put on like a vest or something where he'd like do like this and do like this. Like he was like, I think it's like, like guys have like the ammo like straps things. Like, like Rambo or something like that. So he's like, he was putting that on. And so that used to be a celebration. Then obviously he gets to the NFL and he doesn't play very well. And so, he doesn't get to do the celebration. And then I forget, might have been for I forget where it was. Last year he got to start a game and he threw a touchdown pass, like a bomb, like a 60-yard one. And he did the celebration again, but he did it like he was trying on an old coat he's like, like he's just so excited to like do it again. Like I'm putting this back on. I'm like, this guy's sick.
Yeah.
I like Drew Lock a lot. I wouldn't want Drew Lock to play quarterback. Like if he's playing quarterback for the Titans, I'd fucking hate him.
No, of course. From an outsider perspective, great. Yeah.
But anyway, so they're gonna do the Tommy DeVito thing. It's gonna be Italian. Everybody's gonna be again. It's literally just like they won't boo for the first quarter. Like that's all that this move.
Tommy might throw a touchdown, man. Make it exciting.
Tommy DeVito. Listen, man. Listen, nobody. Anyway, so. We're betting the over because, I want to cheer for Tommy DeVito touchdowns, and I think Baker's going to cook those dudes. We only have to get to 42 there. The next one is Cardinals Seahawks. Cardinals 1.5. The Kyler Murray disrespect is that they are leading that division and somehow are not favored in this game. They are likely to win that division based on what the records, especially if they win this game, they're pretty much going to win that division. And the Kyler Murray MVP bet is not dead yet.
How's the number? Is it going down or is it going up? Like,
no, because I haven't checked it this week because now once it becomes like such like a 2-horse race. Then
true.
Then all the other odds start going up, so it's probably not great right now. But I got it plus 8,000. Bet it after week 1, by the way. They would have to run the table the rest of the way. They would have to like get in contention for the 1 seed and have him just go absolutely stupid. Probably also like. Josh Allen probably needs to get hurt or something. Like, probably also need a little bit of that. So it's not great, but it's still alive. And listen, that Cardinals team, if you go back to like, hey, who do you want to like be right now moving forward? The Cardinals are going to be at the top of that list. It's an exciting future over there. And again, very funny to me that as soon as Cliff leaves town, all of a sudden things start working again.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, the guy who was the best quarterback in high school, who was the best quarterback in college, all of a sudden he doesn't suck anymore. Interesting how that works.
Yeah.
The defensive coach, again, like their coach is a defensive guy to get more out of this offense than Cliff ever did. So give me the Cardinals there. Love it. And then we got Monday night, Ravens-Rams. Harbaugh Bowl. Harbaugh, if you will. I got the Ravens minus 2.5 in this game. It is in LA.
Ravens-Chargers.
Ravens-Chargers. What did I say? Ravens-Rams?
No, you already said. You said the Harbaugh Bowl.
Yeah, Harbaugh Bowl. Sorry, Ravens-Rams.
Yep.
Ravens-Chargers.
Ravens-Chargers.
Ravens-Chargers. Harbaugh Bowl. I'm going to take John in this one. I just think the Ravens need it more coming off that loss. I don't care about like the Chargers have the worst home field advantage in football, so I don't care about that. I think the Chargers' advantage in most games is like they're super well coached and they don't make mistakes. Obviously, that's going to be negated a little bit against another team coached by a Harbaugh. Like, those guys obviously know each other in and out. They know what to expect. They run very similar stuff. They share coaches, like a ton of coaches. Ravens, Michigan, Chargers, it's all kind of interconnected, bounce and forth, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So they know each other very, very well. I just think that the Ravens offense, obviously we said we got to lower the floor, but like what that's like, if they're playing average to anything above that, it's just incredibly difficult for the Chargers to stop, and I think they can control the clock. And in order to keep up, the Chargers would either need to A, stop the run at a level I don't think they're capable of, or B, hit explosive plays on a level I don't think they're capable of. So if I can take a motivated Ravens team that needs the win, giving less than 3, I'm going to take that. So give me Ravens. I have it at 2.5. It's at 3 right now.
I think it's going to be at 3.
I would take it before it gets to 3.5. So that's it, man. That's the podcast for this week. Thank you to everybody who's been following along so far. We're going to keep going strong throughout the end of the year. Have some stuff planned for what we're going to do in the off season as well. So we'll announce that shortly. I think. I haven't told Tyler about a lot of it, so we'll probably have to talk about that before we tell you guys. But thank you guys. Keep liking, subscribing. I love
keep the feedback up too. I appreciate that.
The messages and stuff are super appreciated. Most of you are following me on TikTok. We are on Instagram. We are on YouTube where you can see the full podcast. So make sure you're telling people, subscribing on all platforms, doing that shit. And we'll be back next week. Thank you.
I bet my life I'm a dice shaker. Electric lights on a skyscraper. It's up and downs for